Cthulhu Saves Christmas. Easy on the wallet, but is it worth your time?
We experience a real war on the holidays in order to find out here on Broke and Gaming.
Welcome, absolutely everyone, to Broke and Gaming. I'm your host, Shea.
I am your other host, Dan, and this is our final episode for this year. So we figured we would, actually get into the holiday spirit this time around. But first, hey, Shea, what have you been playing recently?
It has been all Starfield, baby. I fucking love this game, dog. Bethesda, you did it again. I had my doubts at the beginning of the game, but I was texting you, Dan, about it. The fact that the motivation for this game is a bunch of nerds who just want to explore space is so refreshing in a video game, and especially a Bethesda game where they're mostly go explore and beat up everything on the map. And that's not untrue in this game, but I shouldn't say every, but a lot of the NPCs that you meet in the main, at least in the early part of the main story, are all we just want to uncover what these artifacts mean.
Yeah.
And it's not about taking them from somebody else. It's just the joy of learning, which is really cool and refreshing. So Bethesda, again, I applaud you. Fucking hook me every single goddamn time, and I don't know why I doubt you.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to actually get an Xbox to try it out. This is the first game where I've really felt like I was missing out on not having an Xbox, but I got bigger priorities, man.
Yeah. Speaking of, Dan, what have you been playing over in the world of PlayStation?
Oh, me? I've been playing Lost Judgment, which is the sequel to Judgment, which is set in the Like a Dragon Yakuza universe. And what's interesting about this one is, there's only two major areas that any of these games ever focus on. Mm-hmm. Kamurocho and Jincho. The first game is set in Kamurocho, which is where most of the mainline Yakuza games take place. And this one, they're fuck it, we just built the whole city for Like a Dragon or, Yakuza 7. We'll just put him there. And so it's the exact layout as in Like a Dragon. It's so silly because that was the most recent one that I've played.
Yeah.
So I know where everything is.
Oh, nice.
There are a couple things that are blocked off, but it's back alleys and shit like that my dude wouldn't need to go into anyway.
Yeah.
This story is, okay. Yakuza as a franchise has a real weird relationship with silliness.
Reality?
Well, yeah. The balance between silliness and seriousness in these games is unlike anything else I've ever played. I'm spending most of my time in a high school in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was originally called there, the main character, Yagami, was called there because of a bullying epidemic.
Yes,
and then
that the Yakuza would step in on.
No. I mean, he's a private investigator and whatever, former lawyer.
Right. Still, though.
Yeah. But then, after I'm going through all this stuff and I become the...
Chief of police, probably?
No, I became the advisor for a mystery club at the high school in order to stay on grounds to continue investigating other things. And then it very rapidly shifts into a student teacher was found, the body of a student teacher was found dead, and we think it's because of things and stuff. So now I have to stay in school for even longer to figure out why this all happened.
My God.
It's the wildest. I've already investigated UFOs, a moving body model, that was coming to life at night, shit like that. And it's no, there's a fucking murder to investigate. What am I doing?
Okay. But hear me out. Living mannequin.
Yeah. So it was just a kid that wanted to cheat on tests. So he would just hang out in classrooms and try to peep other people's test answers.
Oh my God.
Is
this an Ace Attorney game?
They're not dissimilar. But yeah, that's been the bulk of my game playing recently. I really do like all of these games. like, I like how the tone doesn't stay consistent. It makes it more fun.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, like, the character that you're playing as, Yagami, is so much more of a serious character than, like, at least Ichiban from Like a Dragon. So him getting tied up in these like, I've had to befriend cats in order to find a phantom ramen stall. Like, it's that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, again, murder, dead body.
Murder.
Yeah.
The most wild part of this to me is the whole premise that you've just been accepted as the, like, advisor for a mystery club.
Oh, yeah.
When you don't work at the fucking school.
Yeah. I'm an outside advisor because I have a lawyer badge.
Sure.
Yep. And I'm a private investigator. And initially, like, the president of that club thought that I was putting cameras around because I was a pervert, because Japan. Mm-hmm. Like, I was hiding cameras to catch bullying in the act. And she was like, he's trying to get upskirt shots. Literally what was said in the game. Yeah, because, again, Japan.
Yep.
So that's where we're at. I'll report back with any other ridiculousness, which I'm sure there will be a lot of. But we should probably get right into today's game. And for that, we will start, as we always start, with our short change history. Today we're talking about Cthulhu Saves Christmas, which is a 2019 retro RPG developed and published by Z-Boyd Digital Entertainment. Robert Boyd dabbled with programming and experimenting with RPG creators as a teenager, but after Microsoft launched its XNA initiative, he was able to make his first full-fledged games. He started first with visual novels, then partnered with designer Bill Sternberg to make RPGs such as Breath of Death 7: The Beginning, the first and only installment in that series, with the newly formed studio focusing heavily on new battle systems and, by their own admission, cheesy jokes. The pair would also work on the video games for Penny Arcade, the RPGs that they were putting out. They did the third and fourth installments after things fell through with their original studio. But Cthulhu Saves Christmas is currently available for PlayStation, Switch, and PC platforms. So, Shea, would you mind telling us what this game is actually about?
I can sure try, Dan.
Yeah, best of luck.
In Cthulhu Saves Christmas, you play as Cthulhu, who, after having his powers stolen by a mysterious gift, teams up with the granddaughter of Santa Claus and the Baba Yaga?
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah, it's Baba Yaga.
Yeah, and Belsnickel, to rescue Santa Claus from the clutches of the Holiday 7 or something like that. I don't know. Other holiday characters.
Yeah. You fight the Rat King from fucking Nutcracker.
Right, yeah. Jack Frost, I think, right, is the tutorial boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are examples of...
Who knows he's a tutorial boss. And we're going to get right into that part of the game.
Let's do it.
So this game knows it's a game.
Yep.
And I don't know how I felt about that.
Oh, I do.
Yep, go.
I fucking hate that.
I know.
Stop it. Stop it.
The meta gaming thing is so... It's weird how much it is coming up in recent years. Like, when a character knows he's being talked to by a narrator. Cthulhu straight up has arguments with the narrator at certain points.
Yep. And it's so charming.
Yeah. I think this game thinks it's funnier than it is.
Oh my god.
By a lot. Yeah. Not to say that there weren't some things that actually took me off guard and I did think were funny. It's just not... It's not a humorous game. Like, it's a game that's actually a solid fucking RPG. Like, the actual mechanics in this are really good. I think it actually loses, not points per se, but points for its attempt at being, like, silly at times. And granted, like, this is a silly premise. You're fucking Cthulhu saving Santa Claus. This is also, by the way, a prequel, and past guest Timmy had said that this is almost an advertisement for the main game in the series.
Cthulhu Saves the World?
Yep. So, like, I don't mind that. Like, it is at a cheaper price point. I would kind of like to know which of the mechanics are from that entry. So, after you do one of these missions, because they're kind of pieced out as like actual missions. You go to a town for a couple days.
A week. It's always a week.
It's always a week. And then you kind of choose like what items you want to get through different events.
Yeah.
And they're just like little cutscene type things. But I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Rather than having a currency system to be like, all right, I want to bulk up Crystal. Let's get some stuff going for her. Let's get these eggs for Baba Yaga or whatever. I really like that it gives you the ability to do that. Plus, you do pick up things along the way during the missions.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a really cool way to do that as opposed to just getting like grinding and getting gold or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I think the variety of tasks that you can do in the town is, what's the word I want to use here? It's not fun, but it's nice that they put so many things in there.
Yeah.
You
can go to the movies. You can go hang out at the mall.
You can work at the post office.
You can work at the post office. Or you can spend time with any of the other characters in your party. And you get little bits of their backstory or story stuff. Like the stuff with Belsnickel was actually weird.
Dog, did you see the goddamn cutscene they have with him where he's like, child abuse is actually okay?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not, despite being of German descent, I wasn't super familiar with Belsnickel. Plus, I live in Pennsylvania, and I guess it's a big like PA Dutch thing, like sure. that character. He's kind of a slightly gentler version of Krampus, I guess. Apparently, there's a whole episode of The Office where Dwight dresses as Belsnickel.
He sure fucking does.
I didn't watch that deep into the series to know that. But not a character I was super familiar with. So, like, I kind of appreciated that they were going pretty deep into, like, weird Christmas lore.
Mm-hmm.
Baba Yaga, fuck all to do with Christmas. It's just a fun addition.
Or chickens, I think.
Oh, no, totally a chicken thing. Baba Yaga totally has a chicken thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's partially the hut on chicken legs. Like, I think that's the one that I know for sure is chicken adjacent, but...
I'm not particularly familiar with the lore surrounding Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga was just in a different video game I was playing, and I don't remember which one. Like, I had to go into a swamp, and it was a whole thing. It was a fantasy game of some sort. Don't recall which at this point, but...
Isn't Baba Yaga in Elden Ring?
Almost certainly, but I didn't play that, so I couldn't tell you for certain. Lex or Timmy, give us a heads up. But yeah, so the battle system itself. Talk a little bit about the battle system, because I really liked some of the innovation here.
So, in true party-based RPG mechanics, I guess, you have a set of powers or skills, some of which are fixed and some of which rotate as you refresh. Because most of your powers you can only use once, and then you'll have a turn where you have to kind of recharge everything. And when you do, those, I think it's 3 slots, I want to say. It's like a kind of a randomizer, and you get 3 new powers in those slots. And if you don't like the powers that you get in those slots, you can recharge it at that point and cycle through them again. That's really cool.
I like that a lot.
There's also, like, Baba Yaga can build chicken power, which is a mechanic I didn't quite understand.
Me neither. I didn't think it was... I didn't see what effect it actually had on anything.
Yeah. I think it was kind of... So Cthulhu, Crystal, and I think Belsnickel have like a turn timer, and when that turn timer fills up, their next attack is more powerful. And I think that the Baba Yaga chicken power was supposed to be that, because I can't remember if Baba Yaga has that turn timer as well, but I kind of think that she does.
She does. They all do.
Well, then I don't know what the fucking
I don't
power is for.
I really don't get it. Either way, her powers were fun, chicken or no chicken. Like, just the rotten egg thing was very helpful in a lot of cases.
Right? Yeah, and then there's like a whole host of status effects that you can inflict on enemies, like insane, or break, or poison, or vulnerable, or stuff like that.
Yep, and you can't have an H.P. Lovecraft themed game without having some sort of insanity something. Like, that's right. It's just the thing.
His thing, yeah. The other mechanic that I thought was really cool was that in each area there is a set number of battles that you have to complete.
Yep.
And then afterwards you can just explore. So it's not like Pokemon where you're running around and getting into these like stupid random encounters that take a turn and waste so much of your time. You know exactly how many fights you have left, and you're, still exploring while you're building up the timer to the next fight. But once you hit your 10th fight in each area, that's it. You can just explore. Look for chests before you go fight the boss, shit like that. So yep. I thought that was really cool as well.
Yeah, and the other part of that is that you can just trigger battles when you feel like it. So, like, I would
I forgot about that.
Start a stage,
fight
burn
10
through
times
all
and
10, and then explore, and then I would try, like, especially if I had gotten new equipment while exploring or anything like that, I would trigger a couple more, like, right before the boss. Plus, like, it's in terms of grinding, the best ever grinding system I've ever seen of, like, you don't have to run around in circles. You don't have to wait for something to get triggered. You just hammer through random battles, and I really dug it. Yeah. Like, this game did so many things right. Like, there's so much good stuff in here. I think we can probably get right into pros and cons. I mean, the story itself is whatever. It's a loose narrative to just justify random Christmas characters and Cthulhu not totally being evil despite his insistence. Want to get into pros and cons?
Let's do it, Dan. Dive right in.
All right. I mean, goes without saying, battle system is probably the biggest pro here.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so much creativity put into this, and like it's hard to find games now where it's more than one big swing innovation, especially in the RPG space. Like,
oh yeah,
maybe one or two things in even like big franchises like Final Fantasy, but with this, like, being an indie game and having like such different stuff is incredible to me.
Yeah.
I know you had texted me a very specific pro, which we haven't actually talked about much recently.
Yeah, Dan. The soundtrack for this game fucking rocks.
Yeah, it's real good.
Yeah, so good. It's like I don't know how to... Dan, how would you describe it? Like
better...
8-bit synthwave or something like that?
Well, it's intentionally made to be like a limited SNES style soundtrack, but like, because we're using modern technology, they were able to beef up some of the stuff in that. So like it's reminiscent, but just better than what you would get on an NES or SNES. Yeah,
and man, before I fucking shit all over it in the point system,
here we go.
I do want to say that is what you're supposed to be doing when you make an homage to an old game. Make it better.
Yeah. Don't just make what it was.
Yeah, we fucking saw that already.
Graphically, like, there's some stuff in here, because I know that's what we're getting at, but like, it doesn't look terrible, but it looks like it could have been made on an SNES, like, just straight up. And I get that's the point. Like, they're making retro RPGs, but
yeah. A con that I had, Dan, the symbols on the powers and like the monster weaknesses.
Oh yeah.
Took me a real long time to get the hang of.
Yeah, had that same problem.
Yeah. So like, each of the monsters is usually weak to a certain kind of damage and one or two status effects. Mm-hmm. But the symbols that they use to show that, because it doesn't say, this monster is weak to fire damage and insanity. It doesn't say that. It has like a little icon, and it's not the most natural translation from the icon to what the status effect they're talking about is. So I really struggled to like catch on to weaknesses, especially early on in the game.
Yeah, like fire and ice kind of you can pretty easily tell, but like stuff like wind
even
or
ice though was confusing to me. It looked like a diamond, and I was or I guess not a diamond, but like a jewel of some kind. And I was like, what the fuck is that?
And it's supposed to be like an icicle.
Right. And then I eventually figured out it was ice, but yeah.
But like the wind / lightning stuff is hard to decipher, because like color wise it doesn't really make sense either. Right. But yeah, like poison, super easy. It's just like green bubbles.
Right.
But yeah, no, I agree. It's not the most intuitive in terms of the actual symbols. The character designs were weird in terms of the enemies. Like, I couldn't always make out what they were trying to make them look like.
Yeah, dog.
Did you feel that?
It just kind of felt like an amalgamation of shapes sometimes, you know?
Which, like, that's some Eldritch horror shit, like, to be fair, but
also not quite, like, it didn't feel like that, you know?
no, it was kind of sort of spider looking things. I
Right.
guess some were supposed to be robots, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like, if it was a dog or a humanoid type thing, fine, that's whatever. But there were these things that were, like, I think supposed to be like wind sprites, maybe, but I couldn't even tell you. And, like, the names don't really even match up with what the visual is.
Speaking of that, Dan, I have another con.
Yeah.
The description of the monsters, fuck off.
Yeah, not
Just fuck
helpful. They're just trying to make little jokes.
Not helpful, not funny, just fuck off.
I
all
feel
that shit.
like it's a little bit of Earthbound influence with that kind of irreverent stuff when it comes to enemies.
Sure.
Possibly. Just not done as well. Like, Earthbound and the Mother series are so singularly their own thing.
Yeah.
That anybody who attempts to do that, and we have a game on our docket that kind of reflects this as well, but it just doesn't come off as effective to me.
I think that's like a general con, like the overarching con that I have with this game. The tone is just not good at all, and at most points is annoying.
The 19th time that they reference the fact that, like, what do you mean you're not going to do that? You're the star of the game. It's like, yeah, we got it. Cthulhu knows he's in a video game.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it goes so far as it's not even just Cthulhu who knows he's in a game. Everybody knows that Cthulhu is in a game.
Yeah.
It's so silly.
Yeah.
And not in a charming way like I think they intended.
Yeah.
Any other majors one way or the other?
I did like the Christmas biomes that they had.
Yeah, there was a lot of variety, especially considering it's
all Christmas
so
stuff,
specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Candyland and the little like workshop. Like, there was so much cool stuff there. Yeah. I agree with that.
I don't know. I feel like I liked this game, and I feel like I don't have a lot of positive things to say about it.
It's so hinged on the battle system. It's insane. Like, it is a really, really solid, fun to play RPG that almost dares you to not like it with everything else it throws at you.
Yeah. That's an excellent way to describe it.
Well,
we have another way of describing games, though, Dan.
Yeah.
It's by throwing numbers at them. So let's do that. How'd you like that transition?
Perfect. I loved it.
All right, Dan. Up first, does it work?
I had no major complaints in terms of the actual controls. Most of it is just the top-down map stuff, like a retro RPG. The actual battle system itself, pretty easy to navigate. I will say the tutorials weren't always the best in terms of telling you how things work. Like, I had to reread a bunch of things when it came to, like, the combined power things and how that charge system works.
Oh my god, yeah. I completely forgot that existed at one point during the game.
Because
I stumbled onto that menu by accident.
Yeah, and like the items are almost completely inconsequential.
Yeah. Like a Pokemon game.
Kinda. Yeah, you're not wrong. But no, in terms of the actual controls, I didn't have an issue. So, full point.
Well, I did, Dan.
Yeah.
And welcome, everyone, to Shea's Corner.
Ooh, it has been a while.
It has, hasn't it? Huh?
Yeah. Well, when we play AAA games for a whole summer.
That's true. Yeah.
They better not fuck that up. I'm
looking through our list of games. I think the last time we went to Shea's Corner was when we played fucking Man of Medan.
That sounds right.
Anyway, like most retro RPG games, the fucking blocky ass assets that extend beyond where they're like represented on the screen drives me up the fucking wall in this game.
Okay, I'm trying to think of how to ask this, because there is an age gap between the two of us. Have you played a lot of like Chrono Trigger style RPGs? Like, I think what I'm asking is, do you see like a definite difference in what an SNES era game would do versus what something that's trying to emulate the SNES era?
I wouldn't say I'm well versed in SNES era games or RPGs specifically, but I would say I'm versed in them. And sure. I don't know. I feel like what my gripe is with this game is like, we know how to make assets be as big as they are represented on the screen as, and this game just decided not to do that in some cases.
That's fair. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're not learning from the mistakes of the past. We're just continuing to perpetuate them.
Yes.
Yeah. yeah. You know what? That's a totally fair argument.
Yeah. That being said, I'm gonna give it a half.
A half, okay.
Because the rest of it was very straightforward, and they have an option that lets you auto run, which is an option that every game should have all of the time.
Do love that, especially once you get through your requisite number of battles for an area.
Right. So a half point for me.
Okay.
Is it engaging?
So kind of what I was saying in pros and cons. Yes, this is very engaging, but not for all of the reasons that I would normally say it is. Like, this is strictly based on the battle system. I don't necessarily care about what happens to Santa Claus. I don't care about the character development. I don't care about exploration even. The battle system itself is really fun, and the way that it ramps up kind of with you and with like the powers that you gain makes for a really, really satisfying playthrough. So it's going to be a full point, but not for the reasons I would normally say.
Damn. I'm giving it a half point here also. And just basically for the battle system. I think that every other aspect of this game, besides like the set pieces, gets in the way of enjoying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the battle system and the scenery essentially like really do a lot of the heavy lifting. So I'm going to give it a half.
And speaking of scenery.
Yes, Dan, does it look good?
It's fine. I mean, it's in terms of this retro look, it is a bit cleaner than some other ones. The glaring issue being those little boxes for icons and stuff. Because they limited themselves to such a small amount of pixels per thing for that, it's the only thing that's really hard to make out. So I don't mind the retro thing, the pixelated thing, as much as you do. So for me, it's a half.
I'm actually going to give it a full point here, Dan.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who'd have thunk, right?
No, man. This is, we're ending 2023. Still learning stuff about each other.
We've got plot twists till the end of the season, baby. Yeah, no, I appreciate, at this point in my life, I'm just not going to defeat the fucking three-headed Hydra that is pixel graphics in games coming out in the year of our Lord 2019. So I'm just going to take them for what they are, and this is a more polished version of many other games that we have covered for this particular art style.
We're going to have to put together like a pixelation palatability scale for you, because that's kind of what we're riding now. It's like, how pixely can it be before Shea loses their fucking mind over it?
Yeah. Well, so this is not exactly what I'm looking for, but it's kind of the same thing as with the soundtrack, is like you can tell what they're trying to do, but it looks improved. You know what I mean?
I think so much of it comes down to color palettes, especially. Like, if they limit themselves to what a 32-bit color palette would be, it's just not going to look as good. We are using the full spectrum of colors. It just happens to be in little boxes. So we can be more detailed with color and shading and things like that, but it's still, the sprite's still going to be this fucking big. Yeah.
That's what I fucking appreciate about this game.
Right on.
That's why for the first time ever, I'm giving a pixel graphic game a full point.
That may or may not be true. Either way, I'm thrilled by it.
Yeah. All right, Dan, is there replayability?
No. And this is a weird one because it didn't make me want to play this again. It does make me want to play the original for the first time. So I can't, unfortunately, clock that under replayability technically, but like
Yeah.
I want to do more stuff with this battle system. I want to see how far they can take it. I want to see if this was scaled down because it's a prequel. Like it almost feels like it should be a half point because I don't want to play this, but I do want to play other stuff that these guys have done.
Right.
But if we're strictly talking about this game, it's got to be a 0.
Yeah. If you are talking about this game in the context of an advertisement for the other game, that kind of beefs up that feeling a little bit more.
Yeah.
But for the purposes of our scoring system, it is, you're right, a 0. All right, Dan, is there a story?
Yeah, it's not anything. It's just kind of thrown together for the purposes of, making you do silly shit. But there is one, and it's coherent, tonally not my cup of tea necessarily, but it's definitely there, and they worked hard on it. It just fell flat for me. So I'll give it a full point. Like, especially because it's a scaled down game, I think paying that much attention to, all right, who are we going to add? What are their interactions going to be? What kind of big bosses are we going to do? What are we going to pull from that? Like, there's so much thought put into it. It's just, it's not something I'm as interested in, but undeniably there is a story.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give it a half.
Okay.
And it's because I don't know how to describe this, but like Jack Frost for sure, and some of the other non-main characters that you interact with are just ripped from other RPG characters rather than being Jack Frost in an RPG. Does that make sense?
I think I know what you're saying. He wasn't given his own characterization. It was just like, his name is Jack Frost. He's just a big dude.
This is a robot called Jack Frost,
right,
or whatever. I don't remember if he was a robot or not, but you know what I mean. But like the Rat King, I think, was just a robot, and it's like, why?
It gives a little bit of context, and it's like the mouse masher or something like that, I think is what they call the robot. And there might have been a little bit of subtext as far as he used this to defeat the Nutcracker or whatever.
Right.
Like I think there are some lazy parts to it. The second boss was maybe the most like creative and original. Like
remind me who the second boss was?
The cat thing with the elves. Like in terms of the actual story, it was it was a dragon, the black dragon thing. That had the 4 elves around it.
Yeah.
Or gnome dudes, whatever they were.
Yeah, because they reminded you that the game was only powerful enough to have 5 enemies at once.
That is also true. Quick question, side note. Did you die at any point in time?
No.
I died once just because I wasn't paying attention. And like
full party death or a character?
Yeah. I because they took out my healer first. It was when it was just the 2. And so I just wasn't paying attention, and I was just slashing and not really strategizing. And they took out Crystal first, and I'm like, oh, I'm fucked. Like, I can't, like, Cthulhu can't really heal himself. I saw like 3 more enemies to go, and they just decimated me. And literally, they were just like, do you want to retry? And you just retry a battle, and it might not be the same group. Like,
sure.
Because they're so randomized, it wasn't even like I was facing the same enemies. It's just like, here's a different battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, no consequences.
Cthulhu went down. Cthulhu went down one time, but I never had a full party death.
Okay.
Yeah, the enemies are like really forgiving, I would say.
But still gave you a decent sense of like, oh fuck, that hit hard, or like they just hit the same dude 4 times. Like I really got to keep an eye on it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. They definitely gave you scenarios where they forced you to heal somebody, but like you were at times dealing out like 200 damage, and at least as far as I played, I never saw that done to anybody. So
no,
they scaled it well, I would say.
Yeah, I think it all worked beautifully. But at any rate,
all right, Dan, our big 5-point question: is it worth the cost?
So this retails, I believe, at $9.99 across the board. And I think that's kind of the right price for this. It's not too short. I don't know if it's exactly what I want it to be, but I don't think it's an outrageous ask. Like, so the original is actually cheaper if you can imagine.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's an older game, you can get it for as low as like $3.
Nice.
It does look different. Like looking at this, it does look more like
The things that I hate?
no.
Okay.
Real quick, go to the Steam page for this. Like there are pictures of the overworld and there are pictures of the battles, and one is drastically better and one is a little bit worse.
Okay, hold on a second. Ooh. Ooh, ouchie.
Yeah, overworld looks like NES era Zelda
Yeah.
as far as the actual sprites.
Infight World looks like a Windows 95 screensaver.
But with like very detailed enemy types, which is weird.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's odd. But I do want to play that, I think.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we'll ask that question in just a moment, but that you can get as a 2-pack with Breath of Death 7 for fucking $3 on Steam right now. This being $10, actually now that does change things. I'm still going to go with a solid 4. I got a ton out of this for that price point. I have not yet finished it. I do intend to finish it. There is just something so satisfying about this battle system that I just want to keep using it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also with you on a 4. I think I would pay $8 for this. I think that seems like the right price. I don't know. That's all I have to say about that, I think.
So that's going to put our final scores at 6.5 from Shea, 7.5 from me, and regardless of numbers, is this a game you would recommend to somebody?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And now, secondary question, just based on what we've been talking about, would you cover this, the original game for the show? Especially that $3 price point, just to see.
For the show?
Yeah, or just in life.
Anything for the show.
I mean.
But yeah, no, I would. For $3? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's worth a shot.
Coupled with another game? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fuck it. We covered fucking My Name is Mayo, so.
Sure did.
But yeah, definitely. I would cover that game for the show.
What a fun one to end the year on.
Yeah.
So we have a couple more things to take care of before we get out of here. But first, hey Shea, you want to play a game?
Dan, use your Mad Max style companions to help you find equipment and monuments to a time past as you traverse a post-apocalyptic desert. I would love to play a game.
I'm interested. What are we talking about there?
That is a game called Oasis: New Hope, which is the next game that Lex and I will be talking about on the Virtually Analog podcast.
You know, I think I've played an Oasis game before. Do you have like sand tiles and stuff? Or am I thinking of something different?
Not in this game.
Okay. Lex, tell me if there's a game that's like that. Pretty please.
But yeah, it was a real sleeper. I don't know if Lex had never heard of it before. I had certainly never heard of it before. It was one of the games released for BGA's Winter of Gaming.
Okay.
And it looked cool, so I started a game with Lex and we both really enjoyed it. So
right on.
It's been a sleeper hit for us.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the episode.
Yeah.
All right. So, the holidays in general are pretty weird. Between the traditions, having to spend time with your family, discussions that you absolutely don't want to be a part of, and, you know, what the fuck even is a fruitcake? The holidays, just generally speaking, are weird. But even weirder than that are holiday video games. Shea, trying to pigeonhole a video game into the holiday theme is a task that I don't think anybody has really ever nailed. So, what we're going to do today, I'm going to describe to you 6 different games. Your job will be to tell me which are real and which are fake. I'm going to read all of them to you right at the top. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, 3 are real, 3 are fake. All you have to do is tell me which are which.
All right.
Starting off with our first game, The Grinch versus the Cat in the Hat Holiday Showdown. So this game was made in conjunction with the animated series The Cat in the Hat knows a lot about that. Specifically, The Cat in the Hat knows a lot about the holidays. The cat travels to Whoville to explain to the Whovians all about the holidays, and the Grinch just continuously tries to interfere. So the actual gameplay plays out as mini games, a lot of which are like rhythm based, and it's just a shell. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
All right, so that's your first one. The next one, Christmas Comes to Pac-Land. So, after the Pac-Man ghosts scare Santa's reindeer and cause his sleigh to crash, the eponymous Pac-Man is sent on a quest to gather up presents, while in cutscenes, Santa explains what Christmas is actually about to a bunch of dots that have never heard of such a thing.
Okay. Super cool.
Yep.
All right.
Up next, it's Santa's Xmas Caper. So this is a side-scrolling platformer where you, as the player, have to fill in for Santa, who was drugged by his elves and is too fucked up to fly his sleigh. You have to battle such obvious enemy types as snowmen, penguins, plungers, and beach balls.
Huh. All right.
Uh-huh. Up next, it's Christmas Massacre, in which you play a serial killer, not totally unlike the Son of Sam, who believes he is being coerced into murder not by a dog, but instead by a talking Christmas tree, and then goes on a rampage dressed as Santa Claus.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta tell you, Dan, no matter what the outcome of this quiz is, and when it is 0 for 6, I don't think any of us are going to be surprised. I do want to salute you on any of these games that have been fake so far.
Oh, thanks. Again, I missed my calling. We've said it in previous episodes.
Definitely.
All right. Next up, it's Krampus Simulator, which is a game made by Coffee Stain Studios, the creators of Goat Simulator. And it is basically just Goat Simulator, but set in a holiday, like winter wonderland. And you play as Krampus, dragging things around, causing chaos. And it is basically Goat Simulator. Like, I don't know how else to describe it other than it's Goat Simulator, but you're walking on your hind legs only.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know why it exists. And finally...
Or does it?
Or does it? And finally, Elf Bowling, which is not just a game, but a series of games in which Santa Claus, in order to break the elves who are currently striking for better rights in the factories, just hucks bowling balls at them as though they were pins.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
3 of these are real. Yeah. 3 of them.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do.
What's your gut going with?
My gut is telling me that Christmas Massacre, Christmas Comes to Pac-Land, and Elf Bowling, I think are the real ones.
Okay. So you believe that Krampus Simulator, Grinch vs. Cat in the Hat, and
Santa's Xmas Caper.
Those are the fake ones.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to lock those in?
No. I feel like
here's what we can do. We can make this interesting.
Yeah.
How about I tell you how many you have right, and if you want to switch any around at that point, you can. I won't tell you which are right, but do you want to try that? Or do you want to...
Sure.
Or are you confident with what you have? Okay.
Dog, I'm not confident on any of these fucking games.
You're 4 and 2 right now.
I think that's about as good as it's going to get. I'm happy.
Okay. Before we reveal that, then, which are you the most shaky on as far as real or fake out of what you currently have?
The Pac-Man game is actually throwing me off. I just don't know why they would do that, but, the great minds over at whoever makes Pac-Man
Namco,
have done
Bandai.
some crazy shit. Yeah. And then the Grinch and the Cat in the Hat one. I would need to know what kind of game that is, but you would just tell me the kind of game that would confirm that I think it's real, whether it's real or not. So, see, you had me on that one until you said rhythm-based, but when we find out that that's real and Christmas Comes to Pac-Land is fake, I'll be kicking myself. But yeah, I think I'm happy with 4 and 2.
Okay. All right. So, your real games are Christmas Massacre. That is real and released relatively recently.
Yeah.
It has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam currently, which I couldn't imagine why. It looks it looks horrible. Go ahead and look up the page for it if you're still on Steam. It's
Yeah.
atrocious. Like, the talking tree looks like the worst animatronic you've ever
Oh
seen.
my, holy shit. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Love that jiggle in your serial killer's ass as he walks around. The only part of his body that moves.
Yep. That is unfortunately real. Also real is elf bowling.
All right.
And I think there are...
I swear to Christ.
11 games in this series. And also, it was adapted to an animated feature film starring Tom motherfucking Kenny.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, now you know that.
Yeah.
And your final real game is Santa's Xmas Caper.
That can't stop it.
Yeah, that is...
Stop it.
Yeah. So that means your fake games are The Grinch versus the Cat in the Hat. Although it is partially a true statement that there was an episode of that called The Cat Knows a Lot About the Holidays. I just figured,
sure,
it's not outside the realm of possibility that this could exist. It just doesn't.
Right.
Christmas Comes to Pac-Land is actually an animated special for the holidays made in 1982 by the Hanna-Barbera Corporation. Where, like, there was this weird period of time where rather than just being a circle, he looks like slightly more like he looks like in Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a whole TV show out of this. He's got a baby.
Yeah.
Miss Pac-Man and him have a baby. But yeah, they made a Christmas special because back in the 80s, motherfucking
anything
goes. Well, they all had Christmas specials. And then, of course, Krampus Simulator, also not real. But...
Would just like to point out that the Pac Baby would be a bastard.
Because she's a miss.
Because it's still Miss Pac-Man.
That's true. That's true. That's the fan fiction I really want.
I think it's time to get out of the episode.
Oh, yeah, probably true. All right, well, 4 big points added to the big board. Well done, Shay. You accrued a lot of points this year.
Hey, listen.
I actually have to get back to totaling and get back with Fisher about how we're going to handle some of these points because we do not have a plan as of right now. All this moving around, Shay, you got me all fucked up.
Yeah, well.
At any rate, so before we sign off, there is something we would like to announce. Starting in 2024, we are going to be taking the show monthly. Part of this is just because this is a bit of a strain on us to do a quality episode every 2 weeks. Like, we want to make sure that we're keeping these as high quality as possible because we do like doing this. It's just, it is a lot when it is just the two of us doing this. Shay does all the editing. I do a lot of the writing, but not all of it. And we're still playing like a full ass game every 2 weeks. Like,
yeah,
the amount of time that I've been able to spend on games that I just want to play for the fuck of it has gone down drastically. And so, like, there's some selfishness here, but
yeah,
we also want to see if we can get listenership up on each individual episode. If you've been listening for a long time, you know that we did have a sponsorship with Anchor for a while, and just where our listener count was at the time, because of how many episodes we put out and how that gets divided up, we ended up getting that sponsorship revoked. And also found out that the money that we had earned just doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
So that was cool. Not like it was a whole lot, but it would have paid for today's game.
Sure would have.
But we don't want to stop doing the show. That's the important thing. And this is just to lighten the load for both of us. And also still, like I said, keep the quality up on these. So I do apologize. I don't know what the future will hold. Maybe we will go back to bi-monthly. But at least I think for the next year, it's going to be the direction we go in. What do you think, Shay?
Yeah, like Dan said, we do still want to keep making the show. We're going to get to 100 episodes whether you like it or not. But
consensus is not sometimes.
Just to be able to keep gaming fun for us as well as put out episodes that we are proud of, it will be a lot easier on our plates to go monthly, and we'll be making episodes that you enjoy more because they're better.
Yep. We can also schedule ahead for our guests so that they know what they want to do, are available for, things like that, so that we're not just blindsiding them, which we have done to some of our friends of like, hey, what are you doing in like 2 weeks? You want to play a full ass game?
Right.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see what we can do. We do have a couple things that we've tweaked and have worked on. For example, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so on Instagram or Facebook. We are BNG Pod on Instagram. You can search Broke End Gaming on Facebook. That is where we're doing the bulk of our updates. We have completely abandoned Twitter because, man, oh man,
it is a goddamn hellscape over there.
So bad. But on there you can find all of our custom artwork for each episode, as well as sales that you should be aware of that we call cheap codes.
If you want to share the show, which you should, you can do so with our hosting site, which is anchor.fm/bngpod. And if you want to see me play through the game about the crumbling mental health of a police detective, you could do so over on Twitch at twitch.tv/bngpodcast. And then when you want to relive those moments for time immemorial, you can do so on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@brokengamingpodcast.
And if you'd like to send us an email for any reason, you can do so at brokengamingpod@gmail.com. The new posting schedule will be the first Saturday of every month. And hey, Shay, what are we playing next time?
Next time, Dan, we'll be playing a little game called Ape Out. So make sure you tune in for that.
But until then, Happy New Year and goodbye, absolutely everyone.
Goodbye.